my fine feathered friends and fellow collectors at collections.com. My name's Lee, aka Catfish Man, and this is going to be my debut movie review for collections.com. If you don't already know this, I do movie reviews at ilikebadmovies.com. Shameless plug. And today's movie is going to be The Wizard, 1989, with Fred Savage, a Nintendo sponsored deal, I believe, and if I'm not mistaken, and I might be, this movie was actually where the world was introduced to Super Mario Bros. 3, and possibly, and I might be making this up, the Power Glove. Well, without further ado, we're going to start this up, and we're going to start it off with the trailer, and then we're going to discuss. So, here we go with the trailer for everybody's favorite Fred Savage video game movie, The Wizard.
2 tickets to California, please.
That's $226.
Well, we only have $27.30. What does that get us?
Nowhere.
Corey's taking his brother Jimmy on a ride.
These two boys already traveled more than 80 miles across the state.
We've hired someone to find him.
What's his problem? He's just shy.
But Jimmy's got a secret
You got 50,000 on Double Dragon?
that could make this the ride of their lives.
Look at him. He's a wizard. He's headed for the video championship.
This guy?
What is that?
Power glove.
Yeah, well, just keep your power gloves up front, right?
With a touch of romance
I am not kissing a boy.
and a ton of trouble.
That's huge.
We're too late.
1 feet down! Sorry about that. You maniac!
They'll get there any way they can.
Jimmy! Here we come!
It's Jimmy! It's Jimmy!
Come here!
Now, what do you think you're doing to him?
All his life, you've been telling him to do what you want him to do. How about once you ask him what he wants to do, huh?
Now,
Video Armageddon.
it's going to take a lot of guts,
You can do it!
a little magic,
You're the best!
and the Wizard, Fred Savage.
So how many of you had a whole bunch of memories come flooding back after watching that trailer? Well, unfortunately, I wasn't one of the ones that have any memories coming back because this is the first time I've watched this movie. When it came out originally, I kind of avoided it because I was a Nintendo guy. No, I was a Sega guy. But not only that, it was aimed at a younger generation, the generation just after mine, I believe. But you know what? That said, I was pleasantly surprised by this movie. Not expecting much, because I don't really go into any movie expecting much. And, you know, I found it really fun. Kind of enjoyable, heartwarming, and that cheesiness. But at the same time, it was a fun movie. Really Nintendo-centric, but we knew that it was going to be like that. And, now, please correct me if I'm wrong. And I could do some research, but I'm pretty lazy. As stated earlier, I was told that this was the debut of the Power Glove, at least in North America, and Super Mario Bros. 3. Not sure if that's true. Probably a good little Google search would solve that for me. But nonetheless, I enjoyed the movie. I think I enjoyed it for a lot more watching it now than I probably would have back in the day, because I think I would have been more jaded back in the day about it. But I wasn't. It was fun. So, what's the story about? Well, you got a young kid. His name's Jimmy Woods. He's not autistic. He suffered a traumatic incident in his childhood when his fraternal twin sister passed away, and he hasn't really spoken since then. He tries to run away all the time and saying he wants to go to California. One of the only few words that he can say. Now, his father and mother, they split up. He's got some half-brothers, and they're just two separate households, separate lives. In Jimmy's house, the mom, who was stepmother to Fred Savage's Corey, and Nick, the older brother, played by Christian Slater, an actor that I've always liked. why am I not seeing him in more things? That's beside the point. But anyways, the mother split with the father. Father was Sam, played by another great actor, Beau Bridges. So there's some real good actors in this movie. Fred Savage being a better actor than I would have given him credit back in the time. So, got off track. Jimmy, traumatized by the death of his his fraternal twin sister, has not really spoken since the time. His mother and stepfather are thinking about putting him in a home. So they're planning on doing that. Fred Savage's character, Corey, gets wind of this and decides to go and see his brother in the home. And just gets the idea, let's take him out, let's go to California with him. So they run away to California. Along the way, they meet a girl, Haley, who talks big talk. She says she lives in a fancy place. Her dad's a trucker on the road. She's just really independent. Anyways, she joins up with them. That's the love interest. But when you're talking about 12 and 13-year-olds, I guess it's the like interest. And they head out. Along the way, they find out that Jimmy's actually really good at video games. He's scoring something like 50,000 on Double Dragon at in a little store in the arcade machine. So they get the idea. Let's bring him out to California. Let's compete in the video game competition that's happening there. It's like a world video game competition. So that's what they're doing. They're running away, going to California, and meanwhile, back at the ranch, Jimmy's mom, and of course Corey's stepmom and stepfather, have decided to hire a guy who specializes in retrieving runaway kids to hunt them down and bring them back. So when they get wind of this, the kids are avoiding him, trying to get to California, trying to avoid the tough kids that they run into along the way, and meanwhile exploring their relationships. They're growing together, and they're really driven to get out there. So of course, there's trials and tribulations on their traveling across the country to California. Once again, they have to stay away from this guy who's been hired to retrieve just Jimmy. So that's the only one he's been hired to go after. And they're trying to keep away from him. They run into bullies. They find another guy who's really good at video games, also going to be competing at the competition in California. Now this is where you get to see the Power Glove. It's brought out like some amazing thing. Now any one of my friends out there that are Nintendo fans who had the Power Glove, it wasn't that amazing. It looked cool, and that's about it. Hell, it still shows up in movies sometimes, spray painted silver or whatever, to look like a space age robotic arm or prosthetic. Once again, off topic. So of course, the kid's going to be a video game master, or is a video game master, a wizard perhaps, and gets out there, competes. Everything's real close. It gets real tense. That will they get captured by the guy hired to retrieve them? Will they make it on time? Will Jimmy win? Who knows? You probably know. If you've seen the movie, you know the answer. And I'm not really too worried about being a spoiler for the plot when a movie came out in 1989 and we're sitting here in 2014. But anyways, you can figure out. These movies always have a happy ending. But it was actually a pretty fun movie, which I said a couple of times, but I don't care. If I was to give this a mark out of 5 stars, it'd probably be about 3. And 3's not that great, but you know what? The movie's fun. It kind of captures the 1989, the late 80s, early 90s, captures that feel because, well, that's when it was filmed. If you're a Nintendo fan, you gotta watch it, especially if you're an old school Nintendo fan. NES fan or Super Nintendo. This is just before Super Nintendo, of course. I've got to give them kudos. I really didn't expect to like this movie. I expected it to be a piece of crap. And maybe if I look at, as a movie itself and comparing it to Gone with the Wind, yeah, it's a piece of crap. But if you just want some enjoyment, this is an enjoyable little movie. Easy to find. You could probably get it for $5 on DVD somewhere. I'd be shocked if you couldn't find it streaming somewhere. Definitely suggest you go and watch it. I mean, you got Fred Savage, you got Christian Slater, you've got Beau Bridges, and then, of course, random people out there that I didn't bother to learn their names. Gonna give it 3 out of 5 stars. I really think you should go out and watch it. If you haven't watched it before, watch it for the first time. And if you've watched it before and it's been a long time, why not refresh your memory, relive your childhood, Wasn't my childhood, but I kind of wish it was, you know, because I mean I was easily 10 or 15 years younger. That said, good movie. I'm glad I picked it for the first movie in the series that we're doing here. Now, the series that I'm talking about is I'm going to do a week or about 5 or 6 movie reviews for video game based movies. This being the first one, I think I lucked out. Never saw it before, expected nothing, and pleasantly surprised. So 3 out of 5 stars, because I've repeated myself a dozen times. Go out there and watch it. And the next movie coming up, I believe, is either going to be Tron or not Tron. So anyways, folks, I hope you enjoyed this. I really would like some input as to what kind of movies you'd like me to do, or if you even want me to do movies. If you want me to shut up and go away, I will do that and go back to collecting. But let's get some input from you folks. What movies do you want to see? What format do you want to see it? I promise the next ones are going to be a little better formatted. I've got a friend that's going to work with me on a little nitty. And I want to work on a logo also. And I'll do a little more writing before I do this. But I wanted to get out there and put this. I've been telling Corey I'd be doing it for the last week and a half. Haven't done anything. Corey Buckner, creator of and curator of Collections.com. Corey, I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to do this and be contributor to your site, our community. And coming soon, Tron or not.